Hey guys, it's Tim coming at you with a review of the first two episodes of ABC's new series, The Inhumans. Due to civil unrest within the Inhuman community regarding Black Bolt's leadership and the oppressive caste system, as well as feelings that Inhumans should take their rightful place on Earth, Maximus stages a coup against the Inhuman royal family, which ends with Black Bolt, Medusa, Gorgon, and Karnak being stranded in Hawaii, and Crystal and Lockjaw being Maximus's prisoners. The Inhuman royal family must now navigate their new surroundings while trying to find a way to get back to Adelon. Meanwhile, Maximus sends the royal guard to track them down in order to either kill them or bring them back as his prisoners. The Inhumans is definitely a flawed show, at least in its first two episodes. But at the same time, I really wouldn't say that it's horrendously bad. It's more so just below average, and it definitely won't be for everyone. As of right now, I'd say that the two highlights for the series are Ame Iquakor as Gorgon and Ewan Rion as Maximus. Though even with them, there are some problems there. Probably the big one for Gorgon is that his hooves just look like he's wearing thigh-high fur boots. And Maximus kind of always seems like he's scared. But outside of those things, the two probably work the best with what they're given. In fact, Gorgon's kind of the only likable member of the royal family at this point, which is kind of a problem because even though Maximus wants to take over the Earth, he doesn't really seem like he's wrong in his assertions. While in terms of world building, we really don't get a great picture of what the full Inhuman society is like, the parts that they do show us do seem pretty bad and like they need fixing. They basically have a caste system that favors those who are born special and kind of penalizes those who are born lacking in ability. That and Black Bolt and Medusa do come across like they kind of abuse their positions. Maybe this will be fixed down the line where they'll give us more of a reason to actually root for our supposed heroes, but they're not off to a great start with that. This is especially bad with Medusa, who doesn't come across as likable at all. Even in scenes where Maximus is kinda being creepy to her, she comes across as the worst of the two. As with Black Bolt, we really don't know that much about him at this point, so it's too early to say my full thoughts on him. But the problem with him as it stands right now is Anson Mount doesn't really seem up to the task of playing a mute character, especially in the scenes when he's not with the rest of the royal family. He really can't find a good middle ground between understating his visual reaction and just flat out mugging, and it kind of more so feels like the scene is just kind of playing out around him rather than him being an active participant in the scene. Ken Long as Karnak is okay for the most part, but he comes across as very stiff in his actions a lot of the time, and we don't really get a good gauge on Crystal in these opening episodes. But that lack of development and stiffness of those two characters is really more of an overall problem with these two episodes themselves. Like I said before, we don't really get to know that much about the Inhuman society, we're just kind of thrown into it, which could work in theory, but I found myself feeling that if I didn't have some knowledge of the Inhumans going in, I would be completely lost as to what was going on. With Maximus's coup, we don't really get a good gauge as to why Maximus has this much resentment towards his brother and Medusa, outside of the fact that when he went through Terragenesis, he apparently turned into a normal human. So the other members of the royal family look down on him because of that. But there's not really a lot of time to flesh that out, and there's no real build-up to his coup, it just kind of happens. But for as much as the series doesn't tell us, there's a lot that it does tell us. Cause early on there are a lot of scenes of characters just stiffly explaining things to each other for the sake of the audience. There definitely could have been a better balance between what we were shown and what we were told. There's also a lot of stiffness to the proceedings, just generally how characters act amongst themselves, And this is amped up to a hilarious degree in the flashbacks we see of young Black Bolt and young Medusa, and this also extends to the fight scenes, which don't really feel very impactful and don't move very fluidly. But with all of these negatives on it, I didn't flat out hate it. I'd be willing to give it a chance to see where it goes, but I definitely understand people not wanting to continue forward with it. It is a very flawed product. Overall, I'd say I'd give it a 4 out of 10. It moves at a brisk enough pace that it feels like it's going somewhere, but we're gonna have to deal with a lot by the time we get there. But for more reviews like this, feel free to click that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you can be immediately informed whenever a new video goes up. And until next time, this has been Tim from the Hybrid Network, signing out.